So tonight we have an introduction speaker, and I'm really excited. This is the first time we've done this, but I'm really excited to introduce Marine Corporal Josh Blyle. He's a native of Greenfield, Indiana, and after graduating high school, Josh attended Purdue University. Upon completion of his education, Josh decided to serve his country by joining the United States Marine Corps in 2004 and was activated for a tour of duty in Iraq in 2006. While serving in Iraq, Corporal Blyle was severely injured, resulting in the loss of both of his legs. After extensive rehabilitation, Josh returned to Indiana in August of 2008, where he attacked his new life head-on, and he is now the Indianapolis Colts community spokesperson. We're very, very excited to have him open up our award ceremony this afternoon, so without further ado, Corporal Josh Blyle.
Obviously, this means a lot to me, and it hasn't been my whole life when I've been so aware of a disability until I was injured over in Iraq. I grew up here in Indiana as a Hoosier kid. My mom worked for our local Red Cross and then for the hospital. My dad was an IPS school teacher for 36 years, and they taught me the importance of working hard, but that being part of a community was important, giving back, but also that you could achieve anything that you wanted in this life. I went to Greenfield Central High School where I was an athlete, played basketball most of my life, got a lot bigger in college, so I actually played lacrosse all 4 years at Purdue. Maybe 4.5, 5 years at Purdue University. It took me a while to get out of school. But my first job right out of college was actually as a corporate recruiter. I was a corporate recruiter for Conseco Insurance at the time, and I didn't realize the impact I was making on people, that my world had definitely got bigger. How important a job was to everyone, what that meant as a signal of hope, opportunity, and especially, not limiting it to anybody, especially those with disabilities, that anyone can achieve and do anything that they want. One day I was driving to work and received a phone call from a good friend. She had been watching the news that morning, and she explained that she had watched the 2 towers get hit. I quickly got to work and turned on the television and watch the horrific events of 9/11 take place that day. It was something that changed our country and changed our lives, but inside I knew I was different. Inside I knew there was something I could do to give back. I was a big kid, an athlete. Physically I knew I could serve in the military. My father had served in the Marine Corps during Vietnam, my grandfather in World War II in Northern Africa. So in 2003 I made the decision to join the United States Marine Corps. In 2004, at the age of 27, I went to boot camp and realized that 27 is not young to join the Marine Corps. I was the oldest one there, by far. 8, 9, 10 years older than these young men. And I figured there's no way I'll connect, there's no way we'll relate, but I honestly realized that age was even just a number, that they were there for the same reason, to give back, to serve this country. We did 13 weeks of boot camp. I wanted to join the front lines and be sent over, so I joined an infantry unit out of Terre Haute, Indiana. I did my week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. Until January of 2006, I got called to active duty. We went back to training for 6 more months in California, and in September of 2006, I was sent to the city of Fallujah, Iraq. In 2006, Fallujah was a bad spot. A lot of terrorist activity, a lot of bombs, a lot of death over there, but we were there for the same reason, to give back, to help serve that country and give them a fighting chance. But on October 15th of 2006, I was in a Humvee. We were chasing down vehicles much like a police officer pulls somebody over for speeding, but we were going after specific targets. We were going after the weapons. We had done a few stops that day, gotten a couple guys. I loaded my men back up into our Humvee, and we took off flying down that dirt road in Iraq. Well, we quickly saw a vehicle headed the opposite direction we had to pursue, so we did a quick U-turn over the median. When we ran over that median, that's when the bomb was set off, and my world went black. I was instantly knocked out. Those 17 and 18-year-old fellow Marines actually risked their life to get me out of there. It's the reason I stand here today, because they went into danger to get me out, to bandage me up and ship me off to a hospital. But I woke up 5 days later. I'd been in a coma. I woke up in Landstuhl, Germany with no recollection of that day. I knew obviously something wrong had happened. I laid in that hospital bed, casts on both my wrists, my jaw wired shut. But I looked around the room, and the one thing I couldn't find was my fellow Marines, the guys I knew had been in that vehicle. And unfortunately, they explained that 2 of them gave their lives. My sergeant had been killed in front of me, and my best friend and roommate was killed to the left. My gunner was thrown from the vehicle. He lost his right leg, but he's doing great. My driver miraculously was untouched. He didn't have a scratch on him, and he finished his tour. But then they had to explain the injuries that I had occurred. What was going to change my life, obviously forever. They explained that I'd lost both my legs above the knee, 29 pins in my hip, a 6-inch screw in my pelvis. I broke my nose, my jaw, both my wrists. They classified me with both post-traumatic stress disorder and severe traumatic brain injury. I was hurt. I was scared, and I was angry. I didn't think life had been fair, that I was trying to do something good. I was trying to give back, and I didn't understand why I had to go through this. Why my life was different. Why my friends were gone. But I was transferred back to Walter Reed Medical Hospital back in Washington, D.C. to start my recovery process. And there was great support. This country is amazing on the packages, the letters, especially Indiana, but all over, I was encouraged to keep going forward. But I knew now at 29 years old I was different. At 29 years old, for the first time, I was afraid to look into the mirror. I knew what I'd see. I'd been 6'1", 220 pounds, a big tough guy, a big tough Marine, and a heartbeat that was taken away. I now sat in a wheelchair for the first time in my life. I'd lost both my legs, I'd withered down to 115 pounds, and I refused to go into public. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't go into public and handle the stares at the time. I didn't want to deal with it, so I hid in those hospital walls. I started my recovery process. There's a lot of opportunities to get out, from going snow skiing, all these scuba diving trips. They know that these organizations want us to get back out in society, to start our lives over, to be competitive. But I became notorious for saying no to these trips. Luckily, day after day, my sergeant kept approaching me with new ideas. One day he said, "Blau, I have another opportunity for you. I don't think you'll pass this up." I said, "Out of respect, Sergeant, you know me. I always listen, but I always say no." He said, "Blau, how would you like to go to the Indianapolis Colts Chicago Bears Super Bowl?" He knew where I was from. He had me. Without a doubt, I've dreamed of going to any Super Bowl, but to see our hometown play, it was amazing. It's the first time I left that hospital. We went down, sat in the pouring rain, watched Indianapolis bring home a championship. It was awesome. It was fun. It was exciting. But for me, it was definitely bigger than a game. Because for the first time, I was in front of tens of thousands of people in that wheelchair. As skinny as could be without legs, and I didn't care. I didn't care if they looked, if they stared. I realized I had a platform. People were going to notice. But I also realized it wasn't about that outside exterior. It was about who my parents had raised me to be. They taught me to keep going forward, not to be angry, but to enjoy life and to work what I wanted out of life. But the Marine Corps teaches us one thing: how to survive, how to keep going forward, how to adapt, how to overcome. And I was transferred to Walter Reed Medical Hospital, where I had to learn how to walk again. I had to get new prosthetic legs. And I remember a lot of hard days, learn how to walk, learn how to go forward, learn that my life was different, but also learn how to fall, dust myself off and stand back up and keep going. But the true support was getting home each night. Every night I got back to my room, I found hundreds of letters from school kids, churches, everybody just encouraging me to keep going, to keep trying. But during that whole time, the one thing I kept thinking was, one, I couldn't be an infantryman anymore. My legs were gone, I was weak, and I didn't know what I was going to do to support my family when I got out. Having a job is an amazing thing, but also not having a job is a worrisome bother. So what you do, giving back, help hiring, provides that opportunity, provides that hope. I met a lot of neat people willing to help me in the hospital, from athletes to politicians to celebrities, but obviously the one that changed my life was Indianapolis Colts. After winning the Super Bowl, they stopped by to see President Bush out in Washington, but they also stopped by Walter Reed to see the men and women who had been injured. And I got to meet the players and the guys and the staff as nice as can be, but I got to meet the owner of the Colts, Mr. Jim Irsay. And he made me 2 promises that day. He knew I was from Indianapolis. He said, "Josh, 1, whenever you want to come back to Indy, I'll fly you home." He said, 2, when you get there, you come see me about a job. Obviously, he made good on his promise. I work for him now, but that was a huge weight off my shoulders, that I may have the opportunity not only to work, not only to support my family, but to work as a dream job for the Indianapolis Colts. I had spent 10 months in that hospital. I'd overcome the hardest thing I'd ever done before. I'd learned how to walk, but I hadn't come back to visit yet. because I had made a promise to myself I would not go home until I could walk off that plane. But I was there. I was doing good, walking well, so I scheduled a flight to come back to Indianapolis. As soon as I did that, I started having issues. There was pain in my legs. I'd take a few steps. It hurt a little bit more, so I'd have to rest the entire day. Finally, after a week of just being stubborn and fighting through that pain, I went to the doctors. They did tests, they did x-rays, and they came out and they said, Josh, unfortunately, we found 2 infections. We're going to have to go in and amputate again. They were explaining after 10 months of blood, sweat, and tears, I was going to start over. But I looked around me. I was surrounded by other men and women going through hard times. I'd lost friends, I'd lost limbs. And I said, you know what? My parents raised me right. I have a good support system. I have a wonderful faith. I can do this and put a smile on my face to show others that even through the roughest of days, we can get through it. We can keep going forward and make life enjoyable again. I went through that surgery. I was back in a wheelchair for 3 more months, but then I learned how to walk again for the 3rd time. I ended up spending 22 months in the hospital. 2 years of my life recovering, mentally, physically, and spiritually. After 2 years, I came home. Born and raised here, couldn't wait. My family's here. My girlfriend, my now wife, was here. And I called the Indianapolis Colts for that job opportunity. I couldn't wait. And they called me up and they said, come on in for an interview. I was so excited. I interviewed with Pete Ward, our COO. Tom Zupancic was our Senior Vice President of Marketing until he retired last year. And they said, Josh, we like your work ethic, the style that you have, even what you've been through makes you a stronger person. We want to give you this job and hire you. I honestly quit listening after that. I just wanted out of there. I wanted to call all my friends to tell them what I was going to do. And then I thought, they haven't told me what I was going to do yet. Then Tom said, Josh, I want you to do public speaking. I was terrified of public speaking. But I wanted that job. I said, you know what? I'm a fighter. I can do this. I can learn this. And Tom was a great mentor, but my wife was a school teacher of 3rd grade for 12 years. So I said, you know what? I'll practice speaking in front of 3rd graders. That's a horrible, horrible idea. Man, they are critical at that age. Man, there's 2 really mean ones out there I don't want to talk about. They were great, though. Honestly, I fell in love with them. They have crazy questions. I love their hearts. And I started going out more and more. I realized there was something that I could do, that I could give back, that I could work a full-time job. And it's amazing. Someone just took a chance and gave me the opportunity to give my life back. Now I get to travel the country every day. I get to go somewhere else, but not tell my story. Telling you the millions of other men and women that have served this country, that have given us our freedom. We're talking about life. We all have those bombs that go off, things we don't see coming that change our worlds forever. Having a disability, being handicapped is a bomb. But you know what? It's not something we can't overcome. Usually, sometimes it's how we get through those, how we fight past that define us. But usually it's the support system that get us here, where we are today. If someone would have taken a chance on me, I don't know where I would have been. If the Indianapolis Colts hadn't given me that job, I would have still fought for my life. But I tell you what, it wouldn't be as blessed as it is. When you give someone an opportunity, when you realize, you know what, there is something they can do. Yeah, just like in the Marine Corps, we have a saying, adapt and overcome. Sometimes you have to adapt. Sometimes you have to change things, but you can't look at them like a disability. You just got to find a way around the things that they are able to do. My life is truly blessed. Honestly, I have a wonderful job. I'm also sponsored by Dean, who is a great company that gives a lot of people opportunities, hires people with disabilities, continues to go forth, realizing that we all have something to offer. Not only did I never see that before, probably when I was a recruiter, but obviously when my life changed, I see it more and more. But what I look out today and to see that support system for so many, what you guys do is such a wonderful thing. The awards that we have here to honor people, but also to honor the people that give us these opportunities. To be here and to be at an organization that recognizes that there is a problem. You know, a lot of times I joke around about my disability. I use humor, and that's okay. But a lot of times the world doesn't see it. When I come to some place, sometimes I travel a lot, and I'll find my contact I've never met before, and they'll come up to me. And they'll say, are you Josh? I'll say, yeah, I'm Josh. And I'll introduce myself, and they said, you know what, I could tell who you were by the Colts shirt you had on. There was nothing else giving away who I was by any means. I know my legs are gone. Every day they're gone. It's all right. I embrace that. I move forward. But to have a group like this that embraces it too, that understands our issues. There are disabilities, but you know what? That doesn't limit what we can do. Now we continue forward, but we need that support system. Thank you for that support system to continue on. I look back at that day, October 15th of 2006, was honestly the worst day of my life. I lost 2 of my best friends, I lost both my legs, and I almost gave up. I almost thought it was over. But because people like you who just said, you know what, we're going to give up our time, our money, our support, and encourage people, I'm here before you today, like I said, just very blessed. It's about doing your best, realizing that there's no limits, realizing that my community, my parents surrounded me with love and encouraged me to keep going forward. But that's the message here today of hope. Hope is an amazing thing in our life. It's not a bad thing, but when you offer a job, when you give someone a chance, yeah, it is a chance, but it may turn out into a beautiful situation. I honestly get requests every day to go out and speak. I have a disability, but you know what? No one sees that anymore. They overlook that. They say, Josh can continue on. He has a message, and my days are booked. I'm booked out 4 months. When I get off the stage, nobody comes up to me and says, this is what you can't do. They usually come up to me and have another job offer for me to come speak somewhere else. That's what it's about, what you do. Offering and seeing the ability, not the disability. Seeing the chance, the opportunity, but having to adapt sometimes, overcome, but seeing the fighter in each one of us, that we can continue on. But without this organization, it makes it harder. But with the support and the love that you give, the daily efforts, and all the groups that come together to support this, it's an amazing thing. So today is to celebrate that, to celebrate opportunity, to celebrate hope, but to celebrate everything you've accomplished here. You know, celebrate the 25th anniversary is an amazing accomplishment. But keep going. Celebrate the 50, the 100, because that's what it's about. To continue on this, to give so many more people that hope and opportunity. Thank you for that, for me today, for the blessing I got to come here and speak in front of you today. But I encourage you, but once again, I thank you from my heart, from the Colts, from Dean, for everything that you do. God bless and take care so much.
Okay, so I'm crying. Oh, these words are always so emotional. Anyway, thank you, Josh. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.